And I tell you what, off of that point, unless you had any final thoughts on like the BankX thing, if you want to just even zoom out more on the eHEX tweet or the eHEX chart, I am curious because our main topic tonight was kind of like the bull market volatility and how people think like, oh, it's the bull market, it's all smooth sailing from here. And while it is, on the whole, definitely easier for your mind to take what the prices are doing right now, we're going to see like monumental pumps up that crash back down after you have maybe attained, or on paper you have attained, levels of wealth that you never thought possible or
Yeah.
only dreamed of and things like that. And obviously, I think using the eHEX chart from last cycle, 2020 and 2021, is very handy in illustrating that. And you, Ewok, as somebody who's been around multiple cycles, has seen, BitConnect, from BitConnect to whatever else, can speak a little bit to that volatility. Because if you think right now, it's just like, oh, it's pulling back. There's some narrative changes. I don't feel as confident or whatever. Yeah. What about if you do, let's say even 10x your portfolio from here, which for many people will probably be more money than they've ever seen in their lives. And then it draws down 80%. What do you do then? Do you think it's over? Did you sell a little bit at the top of that leg? What do you do? So yeah, I'd like your opinion on that. We can use this eHEX chart to illustrate it.
Well, so let's go back to, I want to kind of get all this in the grand scheme of things, because I guess, well, that's as close to the top as we can get. I mean, it's not showing it because I don't think this market captured the actual 54 cent, whatever it was. I think it topped out here at 51 or 52 cents, but that's close enough. But as you can see, as this went up, and you mentioned it yourself, let's take a look at how many times it dropped 70% right there. And it dropped.
And when's that? When was that? Did you see what month that was? I'm just curious, like how deep into things that was. Was that the end of 2020?
There. This was in, yes, well, this was in July of 2020. So this candle, this series of candles was God Whale. In case no one's familiar with it, that was back in April. That was right during COVID. I think Ski Cat, God Whale, there were several buyers, big buyers in here. In this area, and the price basically went from 3 zeros and a 5 all the way up to 2 zeros and a 6. So it 10x'd in just these, like, this week.
Wow.
I guess it was from April 17th to May 5th. So yeah, 2 weeks essentially. It 10x'd in 2 weeks. And then again, as I said, there was an immediate 45% dip. Okay. And then it went up again and it pulled back 47%. Okay. And then it went up again, up to, the back up to the 006. And I think this was the 50%er. And then it continued up here and it pulled back 70%. I believe on this one was 84% on that wick.
Man,
it leveled out at 78%. So, I mean, it went back up to a penny. I think right in here, January. Yep, New Year's was the first time it hit a penny. New Year's Eve. Hexo was doing his 24-hour stream or whatever it was. And I think Steph was one of the big sellers that night. And from there, it dipped another 56%. So if you're getting any kind of flashbacks, I'm sorry. But it just goes to show you, yeah, I mean, how many times and then it crept up again, but back up to 1.5 cents, pulled back down another 50%. And then we made this nice big climb up here, got up to 2 cents. So that doubled, but then 40%, right? And then here's another big one. So this climb all the way up to here, another 47%. So as many times as it went up, I think Richard has a chart of every rise and fall. So how many percent it went over, how many X's it made, and then the percent of decrease. How many X's it made? Decrease. It did it. We can count like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll just count all of that as 1. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 times
Yeah.
before it worked its way up to the top area. And each one was anywhere between 35 and 85%. So that's what's possible in these markets where people are taking money off the top and it just continues to keep running. So prepare yourself for that, right? I think so. The one big difference that we have now than we had then was this was our only thing happening.
Right.
Although it was a much smaller, tighter group of people. So, yes, there were less people, less things to work on. Now there are more people and more coins that are all tied together. So I think we're going to see some still crazy dips along the way. But don't get too excited that it's over too quickly. At the same time, don't be afraid to take a little off the top as it does go up, and you see some of these levels where it looks like it's really running. It's okay. It doesn't matter if you happen to think this is a crazy run. For example, let's just take this one. You get up to here and you see this one little red candle in the middle, and think, oh, it's going to drop. I should probably take a little off the top. And then it just continues to go, right? But it never came back to that level. Don't be afraid. Again, don't sell your whole bag at a level like this, but take a little off, whether you want to take 5%, 10%, something, so that you can catch some profits on the way up. Again, I don't ever recommend anybody fully exit a position. You always want to have moon bags just because you never know when it's going to stop. At the same time, you've got to take a little off the table and cash in some profits. So yeah, just be prepared. Again, you're going to see these massive wicks, massive pullbacks, but you can see how healthy it is too, because as it goes up, that's what allowed it to get this high. Where all the cells back here, where a lot of people didn't have a whole lot of ammo left as it continued to go up. Now, again, there were a bunch up here that finally decided, and that just triggered. Obviously, it didn't have it. It tried to come back up, but it just didn't have it left. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You make great points, though. I mean, it's like you need to play the market as it is there to be played rather than trying to hope for one thing to happen or go against the grain or something like that. I mean, you are right. I mean, like you see all the stair stepping there 11 different times that we saw just a crazy run up and a big dip back down. I think it's great perspective. And you make a good point, too. I mean, like we do have more coins to worry about now. We're talking about a whole ecosystem, a whole layer one blockchain. It probably isn't going to look exactly like this. But this is just kind of a consolation that, like, are you going to, we've said this for a long time. You're not going to sell the top. You're not going to know the nut top. You're not going to sell it on that day, maybe even on that week or anything like that. Maybe you will as a part of your DCAing out of the market or something. But this is why we don't need to get into this argument again, but this is why I am a fan of looking at kind of overall market sentiment rather than just looking at that eHEX chart or looking at the one that we're going to have now, this bull market with Pulse, XHEX, whatever, and just selling based on that. It's just to keep your head on a swivel. And I think a good barometer too is like you are you. You're not a robot, unfortunately. I mean, maybe we all will be. Have some AI integration here now and Neuralink and all that stuff here soon. But you need to be able to sleep at night. And if we get to a point where it's like, if I don't take whatever it is, 5-10% off the top or something like that, and let the rest of this ride, I'm never going to be able to live with myself if this all comes back down. So there is no exact strategy, but this is just like a way to see that we are going to see this volatility along the way. And obviously, Ewok and I are both of the opinion that for the better part of the next 11 to 12 months, we're going to see a lot of up, obviously. So it's just when do you want to de-risk a little bit along the way? That's really about it. So